The human princess refused peace until justice was won. She watched them for a long moment, her mind full of thoughts that refused to settle. She had traveled far from her home world, leaving behind the green forests and sparkling rivers of Earth, to attend one of the most important gatherings in the history of the galaxy. A peace treaty was being offered, one that could finally bring the humans and the other alien civilizations together in harmony after decades of suspicion and minor conflicts. Yet, the treaty was not complete. Something about it troubled her, gnawed at her mind like a quiet echo she could not ignore. The alien faction offering the treaty had promised the humans safety, trade, and shared technology, but it came at a cost, one that did not sit well with Solara. It ignored the pain and loss suffered by one of Earth's colonies on a distant planet, scifiaudiobooks. Years ago, scifiaudiobooks had been settled by humans seeking a new home, a planet filled with resources that could sustain life and prosperity. But the alien faction had slowly claimed ownership of the colony's mines and water systems, leaving the humans with little to build a future. The elders of the colony had sent messages for help, pleading with the Galactic Council to hear them, but their voices had been buried beneath bureaucracy and diplomacy. Solara's eyes fell on the council floor, where alien delegates were already gathering. They were strange, diverse beings from countless worlds, each with shapes, colors, and movements that her people could not have imagined centuries ago. Some had tall, elegant frames with glowing skin that changed color with emotion. Others had multiple eyes and limbs, moving with precision and grace. Despite their differences, they were all here for the same reason, to decide whether peace could be achieved. Her advisors, a small group of human diplomats and scholars, whispered near her side. "Princess," said Elder Miro, his voice low and cautious, "the council waits. The treaty is ready, you must decide." Solara shook her head slowly. "I cannot," she said, her voice firm but calm. "We cannot call this peace if it ignores the suffering of our people. Scifiaudiobooks deserves justice, and I will not agree to anything less." Miro frowned. "The council may see this as stubbornness. They may even consider it an insult. Our people have waited for this chance for decades. If you refuse, it could create tension." "I know," Solara replied, "but peace without justice is not peace. It is a compromise on our values, and we are human. We cannot accept that." The whispers of her advisors were drowned out by the sound of the doors opening. The alien delegates floated and glided into the chamber, their presence commanding attention. Solara stepped forward, her posture regal but approachable. She greeted each of them with a bow of her head, and some of the more diplomatic aliens responded with gestures of respect in return. The council chamber was filled with murmurs as the head delegate of the alien faction offering the treaty, a being named Larkin, approached the podium. Larkin was tall and shimmering, with translucent skin that reflected the chamber lights like liquid crystal. His voice was melodious but carried authority. "Princess Solara of Earth," he began, "we are pleased that you have come. The time has come to put the past behind us and embrace a future of peace. Our proposal ensures safety, prosperity, and cooperation for your people and ours. We ask only your agreement, and history will remember this day as a turning point." Solara nodded politely but did not step forward to sign the treaty. "Thank you, Larkin," she said, "for your words. We value the offer of peace. But I cannot ignore the grievances of our colony on Scifiaudiobooks. The people there have suffered for years, and any treaty that does not address their situation is incomplete." A hush fell over the chamber. The alien delegates exchanged glances, some shifting uneasily. Larkin's skin pulsed with a soft, deep light indicating displeasure. "Princess," he said carefully, "the colony's concerns are unfortunate, but the treaty provides benefits to all humans, including Scifiaudiobooks. We cannot reopen matters that were settled decades ago." The Council has already studied the situation and concluded that the resources in question now belong to us. This is the only path forward. Selara's eyes narrowed, but her voice remained steady. If you claim ownership of something that is not rightfully yours, how can we call this peace? Our people's rights cannot be ignored because it is convenient. A treaty built on half-truths is no treaty at all. Another delegate, a short, four-armed creature named Vika, spoke up. Princess Selara, do you not see the opportunity here? You are asking us to reopen history, to question the foundations of our decisions. This could delay peace for decades. Surely compromise is wiser than insistence. Selara lifted her chin. Compromise is wise when it is fair. But fairness cannot be ignored simply for convenience. Humans are not willing to accept peace that requires us to turn our backs on justice. We will find a way to resolve this, and then we will embrace peace. But not before. For a moment the chamber was silent, save for the soft hum of the space station beyond. Selara could feel the weight of every pair of eyes upon her. Some were curious, some skeptical, and some openly annoyed. Yet beneath their gazes, she could sense the flicker of something unexpected: respect. The courage to stand firm in one's principles, even against powerful forces, was not common in the galaxy. Her advisors shifted nervously. Miro whispered again, "Princess, perhaps we can find another approach. You could send envoys, gather more evidence, or negotiate quietly. There is no need to make a public refusal." Selara shook her head. The refusal must be public. The Council must know that humans do not accept injustice silently. If we compromise in the shadows, we only teach others that fairness is optional. The head of the Council, an ancient being named Thalrin, spoke in his deep, resonant voice. "Princess Selara, you are young, yet your words carry weight. You challenge the Council with courage, but understand this path is not without risk. By refusing the treaty, you risk alienating allies and delaying the unity your people desire." "I understand," Selara replied. "But the people of Scifi's deserve more than words. They deserve acknowledgement and restitution. Until that is granted, I cannot, in good conscience, accept a peace that is only convenient for some and harmful to others." A few delegates whispered among themselves, and Selara realized that her refusal had sparked a ripple of debate in the Council. Some aliens, it seemed, admired her unwavering stance, while others were clearly frustrated. She could feel the tension building, but she remained calm. Her mind worked swiftly, considering the next steps. If she was to stand for justice, she would need more than courage. She would need evidence, strategy, and allies. After the Council meeting, Selara retired to her private quarters, a small suite with large viewing windows. She looked down at the distant planet of Seraphis IV, its blue oceans and green continents visible even from the station. Messages from the colony's elders awaited her. Reports of lost crops, water shortages, and restricted trade filled her screen. Faces of families, children, and scientists stared back at her, silently pleading for help. Selara felt a surge of determination. She would not allow their suffering to be ignored. She would gather the truth, present it to the Council, and make them see that humans could not be overlooked or silenced. The galaxy would know that humanity valued fairness, ingenuity, and empathy above convenience. Her first step was to assemble a team. Scholars, engineers, diplomats, and historians, humans and aliens alike, who could investigate the colony's plight and uncover the facts buried beneath layers of bureaucracy. She believed that once the evidence was clear and undeniable, even the most skeptical aliens could not deny justice. As she made her plans, Selara reflected on the qualities that made humans unique. They were adaptable, curious, and capable of great empathy. They could see solutions where others saw only obstacles. If she could bring those qualities to bear in the Council, she might succeed where others had failed. That evening, as the artificial sun of the space station set, casting soft gold and violet light across her quarters. Selara stood at the window and imagined the future she wanted to build. A future where humans and aliens could live together in trust and cooperation, not merely in enforced treaties. A future where justice was not optional, and the courage to do what was right was valued above convenience. She knew the road ahead would be difficult. Some aliens would resist, and even her advisors might question her methods. But she also knew that standing firm in principle was the first step toward lasting change. If humans could prove that intelligence, empathy, and persistence could solve problems without violence, perhaps they could inspire the rest of the galaxy to do the same. Selara's decision was made. She would refuse the treaty, not out of stubbornness, but out of commitment to her people and to justice. She would gather evidence, speak truth to power, and show the galaxy that humans could lead with wisdom and compassion. And as the stars stretched endlessly outside her window, Selara felt a quiet certainty. The path she had chosen was not easy, but it was right. She would not waver. She would not be silenced. And one day, the humans of scifistories, and the galaxy itself, would see that justice was worth every challenge, every moment of struggle, and every act of courage. Princess Selara woke early the next day, the pale light of the artificial sun spilling across her quarters. She did not need long to begin her work. The decision to refuse the treaty had been made, and now came the more difficult task, proving that justice could not wait. She called her advisors and a few trusted human diplomats to her side. "Gather the best minds we have," she said. "Engineers, historians, scientists, and diplomats. We will uncover every fact, every detail, and present it to the council. We will show them the truth of scifistories." Elder Miro looked uneasy. "Princess, this will take time. The council expects a decision soon." "Are you certain this approach will work?" Selara smiled faintly. "Time is not the enemy, truth is. If we have the facts, the council cannot ignore us. We must be thorough and careful. Humans solve problems with persistence, not by rushing." Soon, a team was assembled. Among them was Lyra, a historian who had studied human colonies across the galaxy; Kale, an engineer capable of designing monitoring systems and data collectors; and Myra, a young diplomat with exceptional skills in communication. There were also a few aliens sympathetic to their cause, curious about human principles and willing to assist. Their first task was to collect records from scifistories. Although direct travel was possible, it would take weeks. Instead, Kale suggested using a combination of remote sensors, secure communication lines, and AI-assisted data retrieval to gather the necessary information. Selara agreed. "We must use every tool available. Humans are clever when faced with limits." The team worked tirelessly. Lyra combed through historical archives, piecing together old agreements and correspondences. Kale designed a system of monitoring devices that could scan the colony from orbit without interfering with its daily life. Myra reached out to the colony leaders, speaking with families, scientists, and administrators who had lived through the difficulties. The more data they collected, the clearer the picture became. The colony had faced slow but deliberate expropriation of its resources. Water rights had been transferred to alien corporations under the pretense of shared management. Mines producing rare minerals were restricted to alien oversight, while the humans of scifistories were left with minimal access. Yet, despite these challenges, the colony had survived. Its people were inventive, cooperative, and resilient, building gardens that recycled water, creating energy systems from the planet's natural currents, and forming councils to manage what little resources remained. Selara was deeply moved by what she saw. Humans could adapt in ways the galaxy often underestimated. Where others would have failed, the colonists had persevered. They had not taken revenge, nor had they asked for the galaxy to punish the alien faction. Instead, they had worked, hoped, and maintained dignity under unfair circumstances. "Look at this," Lyra said one evening, pointing at the holographic map of the colony. Small glowing icons showed water systems, farms, and energy grids that humans had constructed. Even with restrictions, they improved every resource available. Their ingenuity is remarkable. If the Council sees this, they cannot deny the human capacity for fairness and persistence. Solara nodded. "It is exactly what I hoped to show. Humans do not simply survive. We create solutions, we adapt, we find fairness in the face of difficulty. That is our strength." The team compiled reports, simulations, and evidence, all organized clearly and logically. Kale created holographic models demonstrating how resource restrictions had slowed growth, but had not destroyed the colony's spirit. Myra drafted messages to council members, carefully explaining the situation and appealing to their sense of ethics and logic. Once the evidence was complete, Solara requested a private meeting with a few sympathetic alien delegates. She wished to present her findings in person before the full council session, hoping to gain allies who could support her publicly. The meeting was tense at first. The alien delegates were wary, having never dealt with a human princess who refused peace rather than accepting compromise. Yet as Solara presented her data, the images of thriving colonies under restriction, the stories of families and scientists, the careful analysis of resource management, they began to see a perspective they had not considered. "Your people are persistent," said one delegate whose skin shimmered with patterns that indicated curiosity. "They adapt where we assumed they would fail. They are patient, clever, and moral. Perhaps you are right, justice has been overlooked." Solara smiled. "It is not about being right. It is about being fair. Humans believe that every being deserves a chance, and we act accordingly. This is our way of ensuring peace lasts. A treaty built on injustice is fragile. A treaty built on understanding and fairness is strong." The alien delegates nodded slowly, and one even offered to advocate for her cause in the council session. Solara felt a surge of hope. If even a few allies could be persuaded by reason and evidence, the council might listen. Finally, the day of the council session arrived. The chamber buzzed with anticipation. Delegates from countless civilizations gathered. Solara stood confidently at the podium, her team behind her, holographic displays showing the evidence they had gathered. She began by telling the story of Seraph's IV, not as a tale of conflict, but as a story of human resilience. She described the challenges, the restrictions imposed, and the remarkable ways the colonists had adapted. She emphasized the principles humans valued: empathy, fairness, and ingenuity. Every point was illustrated with concrete examples from the colony: families conserving water, engineers building energy systems, scientists finding solutions under pressure. The delegates listened in silence. Some whispered among themselves, but many watched attentively. Solara's voice was calm but passionate. She did not accuse or threaten. She explained, showed, and reasoned. She highlighted that justice was not merely a human concern. It was a principle that strengthened all alliances. When she finished, the chamber was quiet. Larkin, the head delegate, rose slowly. His skin shimmered with a faint glow. "Princess Solara," he said carefully, "you have presented your evidence with clarity and remarkable honesty. It is undeniable that the colony has faced difficulties that were ignored. Yet, our initial assessments were made with the information available at the time. We did not intend injustice, though it may have occurred. This is new perspective." Solara nodded. "It is never about blame. It is about understanding and correcting mistakes. Humans do not ask for conflict when fairness can solve a problem. We ask for acknowledgement, restoration, and cooperation. That is all we seek." Another delegate, the one who had previously shown curiosity, spoke. "Your people are indeed unique, Princess. Their perseverance and ingenuity are impressive." Perhaps the treaty should be reconsidered, incorporating the concerns you have raised. If peace is to be lasting, it must include justice for all parties." The room murmured in agreement. Some delegates hesitated, fearing political complications, but many were intrigued by the human approach, determination and fairness rather than aggression. Solara realized that her decision to refuse peace had drawn attention not out of obstinacy, but out of principle. Her people's moral clarity was winning respect across species. After the session, Solara met with her team in the observation lounge. "You all have done incredible work," she said warmly. "We have the attention of the Council. Now we must ensure that our proposal for justice is fair, practical, and impossible to ignore. Humans solve problems by working together, combining insight, effort, and creativity. That is what we will do." Lyra smiled. "The Council cannot dismiss evidence and careful reasoning. If we present solutions that respect both humans and aliens, they will have no choice but to listen." Solara nodded, looking out at the stars once more. Each point of light reminded her of the countless civilizations, each with their own ways, challenges, and values. But humans had something unique, the ability to see fairness, think creatively, and persist without harming others. That combination, she believed, could inspire change not just for her colony but for the galaxy. Over the following weeks, the team worked tirelessly. They proposed ways for the alien faction to restore control and rights to Seraphis IV while maintaining cooperation. They suggested shared councils, technology transfers, and new regulations to ensure transparency and accountability. All solutions emphasized collaboration rather than punishment. Solara presented these proposals to the Council, combining stories from Seraphis IV, detailed data, and practical solutions. She demonstrated that humans could solve complex problems without aggression, using intelligence, empathy, and moral courage. The room was captivated, not just by the evidence, but by the demonstration of human values in action. By the end of the session, whispers turned into discussions, and discussions into preliminary agreements. Some delegates were cautious, but most were inspired by the human approach. Solara's heart swelled with hope. Perhaps, at last, justice could be achieved without resorting to conflict or compromise that ignored principle. As the session adjourned, Solara walked through the chamber quietly, reflecting. The path was still long, and challenges remained. Larkin had yet to fully accept the proposals, and some delegates might resist. But for the first time, she felt that change was possible. Humans had shown that fairness, persistence, and intelligence could sway even the most skeptical of minds. That night she returned to her quarters and looked once again at Seraphis IV. The planet's lights twinkled faintly, a reminder that her people were waiting, trusting in her decisions. She whispered softly to herself, "We will not be ignored. Justice will be done." Solara knew that the coming days would test her further, but she felt ready. Humans had faced challenges before and had always found a way. They had survived, adapted, and thrived where others would have failed. And now, across the galaxy, she would show that the same values could bring fairness, peace, and hope to countless worlds. Her journey was only beginning, but the first step had been taken. By choosing principle over convenience, by relying on intellect and compassion rather than force, Princess Solara had made it clear. Humanity would not compromise its values, and justice would not be denied. Princess Solara entered the council chamber with calm determination. The previous sessions had been promising, but she knew the hardest part was still ahead. Today, she would present the final plan, proof not only of the colony's plight, but also of a path forward that could satisfy humans and aliens alike. The chamber was filled with delegates from countless civilizations, each curious, skeptical, or wary. Some whispered to each other while others watched her carefully. Solara took a deep breath. She did not feel fear, only focus. Humans, she knew, thrived in moments of challenge. They could analyze, adapt, and persuade with intelligence and empathy. She would show them today that justice could be achieved without conflict, that fairness was a principle worth defending, and that cooperation was stronger than compromise built on convenience. She began by telling the story of Seraphis IV again, but this time with more depth and clarity. The colony's challenges, which had once seemed small in reports and summaries, were now vivid. She spoke of the families who had built gardens to recycle water, of scientists who had developed energy systems from wind and solar sources unique to the planet, and of communities that organized themselves to share scarce resources fairly. Each detail illustrated not only the hardships but the extraordinary ingenuity of human beings. The delegates listened in silence. Some leaned forward, their glowing skin pulsing with curiosity. Others exchanged subtle gestures, signaling surprise or admiration. Selara continued, showing simulations of resource management and efficiency, and projections of what the colony could achieve if given fair access to its own resources. Peace, she said, cannot be achieved by ignoring what is right. Justice is not an obstacle, it is the foundation for lasting harmony. Humans believe that fairness is a principle, not a convenience. If we build alliances on truth, understanding, and moral clarity, they will endure. If we ignore fairness, we build only fragile agreements that crumble when tested. Larkin, the head delegate of the alien faction that had restricted the colony's resources, stood carefully. His translucent skin shimmered softly, signaling unease. "Princess Selara," he said, "your words are compelling. We had assumed that the treaty offered benefits to your people. Yet it appears we underestimated the consequences for Seraphis IV. Your evidence is difficult to ignore." Selara nodded. "It is not difficult to ignore if one chooses to do so. But humans do not accept being ignored when fairness is at stake. We seek solutions that respect both sides, that repair what has been overlooked, and that allow cooperation to flourish. I bring such solutions to the Council today." She activated a holographic display showing her proposed plan. It included shared governance of the colony's resources, with humans taking primary responsibility and alien advisors offering guidance rather than control. Advanced technology would be transferred to improve resource management, benefiting both humans and aliens. Transparent communication channels would allow the Council to monitor fairness without interfering with daily life. Each suggestion was practical, measurable, and respectful of all parties. The chamber was quiet, save for the hum of the holographic displays. Delegates whispered to each other, considering her proposals carefully. Selara could feel the weight of their attention, but she remained steady. This was the moment where human ingenuity, patience, and moral courage could shine. One of the alien delegates, a being named Vika who had previously supported her cause, spoke up. "Princess Selara presents not only evidence but solutions. These proposals show understanding, creativity, and consideration for all parties. If implemented, they will repair past mistakes and strengthen alliances. It is rare to see such foresight." Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Some delegates who had been skeptical now leaned in, their curiosity growing. Others began asking practical questions: how technology transfers would work, how councils would function, and how accountability would be maintained. Selara's team responded with clarity, demonstrating not just knowledge but empathy and foresight. Larkin's voice cut through the discussion. "The proposals are ambitious. They require adjustments to our current agreements and may affect other colonies." "Are you confident these ideas are feasible?" Selara smiled calmly. "Yes. Humans do not propose what we cannot achieve. The plans are designed to be implemented step by step, with checks and collaboration at every stage. We do not seek conflict, only fairness. Our methods have been tested on Seraphis IV itself. The colony has thrived under restrictions. Imagine what it could achieve with the support it deserves. A few delegates nodded slowly. The discussion turned from skepticism to curiosity and then to cautious optimism. Solara sensed the change in mood. By presenting practical solutions and demonstrating human principles in action, she had begun to transform doubt into support. She then shared a human perspective rarely understood by other civilizations: the importance of trust and long-term thinking. Aliens may seek efficiency or quick agreements, she said, but humans know that trust is stronger than fear, cooperation is more enduring than control, and fairness is more valuable than convenience. If we build peace on these foundations, it will last far longer than any treaty built on mere words. The council hall was silent for a moment, as if absorbing the weight of her statement. Then, an unexpected voice spoke. It was one of Larkin's advisors, a young alien named Myrene. "Princess Solara," she said, "you are teaching us something valuable. Perhaps we have underestimated the human approach. Your focus on fairness, collaboration, and evidence is remarkable. We should consider how this could apply beyond scifiaudiobooks." Solara's eyes brightened. This was exactly the shift she had hoped for. "That is the goal," she said. "Justice for scifiaudiobooks is the first step, but the principles can guide us throughout the galaxy. When fairness is prioritized, all civilizations benefit." The discussion continued for hours. Questions, clarifications, and suggestions were raised. Solara and her team addressed each with care, never dismissing concerns and always providing thoughtful solutions. Delegates began to see humans not as a species to negotiate around, but as problem solvers and moral guides capable of bridging divides. By late afternoon, the council reached a preliminary agreement to consider Solara's proposals. Larkin looked at her with a mixture of respect and contemplation. "Princess Solara," he said, "you have presented not only evidence of past mistakes but a path forward that is fair and practical. We must review the details, but your approach has opened our minds. Perhaps humans have a unique way of seeing the galaxy that we have overlooked." Solara inclined her head. "We all have unique strengths," she said. "Humans can offer persistence, empathy, and creativity. Other civilizations bring their own perspectives. Together, we can build something far greater than any single species could achieve alone." As the delegates began to leave for further consultations, Solara stayed behind for a moment, watching the chamber slowly empty. Her team gathered around her, their faces reflecting both exhaustion and pride. "You did it," Lyra said softly. "The council is listening now. They cannot ignore your evidence or proposals." Solara shook her head, smiling. "We did it. Humans did it. This is what our species is capable of: thinking clearly, acting with fairness, and solving problems without conflict. We have a long way to go, but the first step is taken." That night, back in her quarters, Solara reviewed the day's events. She thought about the colony on scifiaudiobooks, about families working tirelessly to survive and thrive, and about the galaxy that had almost overlooked them. She realized that humans were capable of extraordinary things, not just surviving, but inspiring change through intelligence, empathy, and determination. Her thoughts turned to the challenges ahead. Even with preliminary agreement, some delegates would resist, and implementation would require careful monitoring and cooperation. But Solara felt ready. Humans had faced challenges before, and they had always found ways to adapt, invent, and collaborate. She reached out to the leaders of scifiaudiobooks through secure channels, sharing news of the council's response. The messages were filled with cautious hope, gratitude, and determination. The colonists had always believed in humanity's principles, and now, seeing their values reflected in the actions of the princess, their spirits lifted. Solara also knew that her approach had wider implications. The galaxy often underestimated humans, assuming they were impulsive or self-serving. Yet here they were, showing that fairness, creativity, and persistence could solve problems others considered impossible. By refusing to accept an incomplete peace, humans had shown the value of principle over convenience. The following weeks were filled with preparation. Selara and her team refined proposals, addressed concerns from skeptical delegates, and ensured that every aspect of the plan was feasible. Meetings were held with alien advisors who had initially doubted her approach, and slowly, one by one, they became supporters. The princess also emphasized communication with the council's bureaucrats and clerks, understanding that small details could make or break implementation. She used human ingenuity to streamline processes, automate monitoring, and ensure transparency. Every step was a demonstration of her species' ability to think logically and morally, combining intelligence with ethical responsibility. By the time the next council session was called, Selara felt confident. She had presented evidence, proposed practical solutions, and inspired allies. The delegates were no longer debating whether humans deserved consideration. They were discussing how to implement fairness and collaboration effectively. As she stepped into the chamber, Selara felt the weight of responsibility, but also the strength of principle. Humans had faced challenges before, and their persistence, empathy, and intelligence had carried them through. Today, those same qualities would guide them to ensure that justice for scifiaudiobooks was not only acknowledged but acted upon. And as the session began, Selara spoke once more, with calm authority and unwavering conviction. "Justice is not a luxury," she said. "It is the foundation for lasting peace. Let us build that peace together with fairness, understanding, and collaboration. Humans have shown that it can be done, and I believe that together we can achieve it for all." The chamber fell silent, every delegate absorbing the meaning of her words. And in that moment, Princess Selara knew that human ingenuity, empathy, and determination had begun to transform not only the fate of scifiaudiobooks, but the future of the galaxy itself. Princess Selara woke to the soft glow of the artificial sun spilling across her quarters. Today was the day the council would vote on the final implementation of justice for scifiaudiobooks. Weeks of careful preparation, evidence gathering, negotiation, and collaboration had led to this moment. Her team had worked tirelessly, ensuring that every detail of the plan was clear, fair, and achievable. Selara knew that humans could influence not only decisions, but the very way other civilizations thought about fairness and cooperation. As she entered the council chamber, she felt a mixture of anticipation and calm determination. The delegates were already present, their forms varied and alien, yet each carried a similar weight: the responsibility to make choices that affected countless lives. Selara had learned to read their body language, their subtle pulses of color, the small gestures that indicated openness, curiosity, or doubt. Today, she would rely on the same tools she had used since the beginning: reason, empathy, and a firm commitment to principle. She began by recapping the journey of scifiaudiobooks. The colonists had faced years of restricted access to resources, yet they had thrived through creativity and collaboration. Families had developed self-sustaining gardens, scientists had engineered energy systems adapted to the planet, and communities had organized councils to ensure fair distribution of necessities. Selara emphasized not only the suffering they had endured, but the extraordinary resilience they had displayed. The delegates listened with growing interest. Many were impressed by the ingenuity and determination of humans. Some whispered to one another, comparing these qualities to their own civilization's approaches. Selara knew that admiration for human problem-solving was spreading, slowly but unmistakably. Then, she presented the solutions her team had developed: shared governance of resources, technology transfer to improve efficiency, transparency through monitoring systems, and councils with both human and alien representatives. Every element was practical and collaborative, designed to repair past mistakes without creating new conflicts. "Justice is not about punishment," Selara said, her voice calm but firm. "It is about fairness, acknowledgement, and restoring opportunity. Humans do not seek revenge. We seek solutions. We show that fairness is stronger than fear, that collaboration is more enduring than control, and that intelligence combined with empathy can solve even the most complex problems." Larkin rose, his translucent skin pulsing with thought. "Princess Selara, your proposals are precise and well-founded. It is clear that the colony's resources were unfairly restricted, and your solutions demonstrate understanding, care, and practicality. I see the merit in this approach." Other delegates nodded in agreement. One by one, the skeptics began asking questions, not to challenge her, but to understand how implementation would work. Selara's team provided detailed explanations, simulations, and plans for monitoring and accountability. Each answer was met with careful consideration, and slowly, doubt turned into cautious support. Selara felt a sense of quiet satisfaction. The council had moved from debating whether humans deserved attention to discussing how to implement fairness effectively. Her species' combination of persistence, empathy, and problem-solving had earned respect across the chamber. The vote began. It was a formal process, conducted with holographic technology ensuring transparency. Each delegate indicated their support or concerns. One by one, votes were tallied. Selara watched carefully as allies, both human and alien, supported the proposals. Some delegates who had been skeptical now cast their votes in favor, inspired by the clarity, practicality, and morality of the plan. When the final tally appeared, the chamber erupted in a mixture of relief, celebration, and quiet acknowledgement. The proposal had passed. Justice for Seraphis IV would be implemented. Humans would regain rightful governance of their colony, and collaboration with the alien faction would ensure long-term fairness and cooperation. Selara allowed herself a small smile. The months of effort, careful planning, and unwavering principle had borne fruit. Humans had proven that they could achieve justice without conflict, relying on intelligence, empathy, and persistence. The galaxy had taken notice, and a precedent had been set. After the council session, Selara and her team returned to their quarters to prepare for the implementation phase. They coordinated with Seraphis IV, establishing councils, technology transfers, and monitoring systems. The colonists were thrilled to receive confirmation that their rights and resources would be restored. Messages from the colony were filled with hope, gratitude, and excitement. Families shared stories of their struggles and triumphs. Scientists offered suggestions for improvements, and community leaders prepared to take on their new responsibilities. Selara felt a deep sense of pride, not in herself alone, but in the human spirit that had made all of this possible. Humans had faced challenges before, and through creativity, collaboration, and moral clarity, they had overcome them. The principles that guided their actions, the desire for fairness, the commitment to solving problems without conflict, and the persistence to pursue justice, had shown the galaxy what humanity was capable of. The implementation process was complex, but humans thrived on complexity. Kale oversaw the technology transfers, ensuring that systems were functional and efficient. Lyra monitored historical records and legal agreements, ensuring that no previous mistakes would be repeated. Myra coordinated diplomacy between the humans of Seraphis IV and the alien faction, fostering trust and understanding. Together, they created a system that was fair, transparent, and practical. As weeks passed, the colony began to flourish. Access to resources improved, energy systems became more efficient, and trade opportunities increased. Humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from each other and building a foundation of mutual respect. Selara visited Seraphis IV via holographic communication, speaking with families, scientists, and council members. Each conversation reinforced the idea that justice and cooperation could create a better future for all. Meanwhile, word of the successful resolution spread across the galaxy. Other civilizations began to study the human approach, curious about how a species could achieve fairness, resolve disputes, and implement solutions without resorting to force. Delegates from distant systems reached out to Selara, seeking advice and guidance. Humans, once underestimated, were now recognized for their unique combination of intelligence, empathy, and persistence. One evening, Selara stood on the observation deck of the council station, looking out at the stars. She reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From the initial refusal to sign the treaty, through weeks of investigation, evidence gathering, and negotiation, to the final implementation of justice, every step had required courage, creativity, and moral clarity. Humans had demonstrated that principle and patience could overcome even the most complex challenges. Her thoughts turned to the future. There were still many issues to address, many injustices to correct, and many opportunities for collaboration. But the success of scifiaudiobooks had shown that when humans acted with integrity, the galaxy listened. It was a powerful lesson, and one that Selara hoped would inspire generations to come. The princess also considered the broader implications for her species. Humans had often been underestimated, seen as impulsive or naive. Yet here they were, leading through reason, empathy, and creativity. Their ability to solve problems without conflict, to inspire cooperation, and to insist on fairness had changed perceptions across civilizations. The galaxy had learned that humans were not merely survivors. They were innovators, mediators, and moral guides. Selara's team gathered around her that evening, sharing updates from scifiaudiobooks and discussing plans for ongoing support. Kale spoke about improvements in resource management systems. Lyra highlighted the historical significance of the Council's decisions. Myra shared messages of gratitude from the colonists. Together, they celebrated the success of their work, knowing that the impact would last for years. The princess addressed them quietly, her voice filled with pride. "We have done more than restore justice," she said. "We have shown what humans are capable of, thinking creatively, acting fairly, and solving problems without conflict. The galaxy has seen that persistence, empathy, and intelligence can change the world." Her team nodded, sharing her sense of accomplishment. But Selara knew that this was not the end, it was the beginning. Humans would continue to face challenges, both on scifiaudiobooks and across the galaxy. Yet now, armed with experience, evidence, and moral clarity, they were prepared to meet those challenges. They had shown that principle mattered, and that cooperation could achieve results that force could never accomplish. As days turned into weeks, the systems on scifiaudiobooks were fully restored. Families rebuilt their communities, scientists developed new energy and water systems, and trade with nearby civilizations increased. The colony thrived in ways that had once seemed impossible, a living testament to human ingenuity and perseverance. The Galactic Council held a final ceremony to acknowledge the successful resolution. Delegates praised Princess Selara and her team for their work, emphasizing the importance of fairness, evidence-based solutions, and collaborative problem-solving. Selara accepted the recognition humbly, knowing that the true success lay not in accolades but in the improved lives of the colonists and the strengthened bonds between civilizations. That evening, Selara stood once more on the observation deck, gazing at the distant stars. She thought of the humans of scifiaudiobooks, of the alien delegates who had come to respect and admire her species, and of the countless civilizations that might one day follow their example. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that humanity's values, empathy, creativity, and persistence had created lasting change. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities, but Solara knew that humans were ready. They had proven that principle mattered, that fairness could prevail, and that intelligence combined with moral clarity could achieve what others deemed impossible. She felt hope, not just for her species, but for the future of the galaxy itself. Princess Solara smiled softly, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly, replaced by quiet pride. The humans of Seraphis IV were thriving. The Council had recognized the importance of justice. And the galaxy had learned a lesson about the power of human ingenuity, empathy, and determination. As she looked out at the stars, she whispered to herself, "We will continue to strive, to solve, and to inspire. This is who we are. This is what humans do." And with that, she knew that the journey of fairness and collaboration had only just begun. But humanity's place in the galaxy was stronger, brighter, and more respected than ever before. The human princess refused peace until justice was won.